the idea of what is my big lever actually is a compelling thought because I think it's my sense of optimism and my belief that we can do the biggest things in our world. That when I go for my biggest, boldest adventures, that's a refreshing thought for people, and that people gravitate towards wanting to be part of that. And so I think about asteroid mining. I think about solving the world's grand challenge. I think about human longevity. I think about all of these areas, and I think that's a unique conversation that I have with amazing people that they don't have someplace else. And I think people want to be associated with big, bold adventures, and that lever gives me something that they want to be part of. So I've never thought about it that way, but I do think that that's one of my big levers is that philosophy that nothing is impossible, and that the best way to predict the future is to create it yourself. And if you believe that, and you can really, in confidence in your heart and soul, then people want to be part of that train of significance, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because enough people back you, and ultimately you can make it happen.
I love that. So if you were going to give someone a piece of advice right now, which is a piece of implementation advice specifically.
Yeah.
So here you are, you effectively come across a big frigging challenge, and you want to create essentially an opportunity for someone to be part of that. What is the primary question you ask yourself in order to solve that problem? Because having a big, bold idea and then getting a whole bunch of people on the train or on the bus with you to want to be part of that is both a science and an art. And it's a grand act of beautiful human psychology. So what do you do? What do you think about? Or what's the primary question you ask to inspire someone to want to be associated with you or it?
So I think if you're trying to get a group of people to be part of a bold idea that you're pursuing, how people hear about your idea first matters a lot. And I have this concept that we have this line of credibility in our minds. And when someone pitches you an idea that's below the line of credibility, you dismiss it out of hand.
Right.
And if it's above the line of credibility, it either eventually dips below and they dismiss it, or it grows in probability and they get behind it. But we also have in our minds this line of super credibility. And if you can pitch someone your idea above the line of super credibility, then they want to be part of it and they want to get involved. So how you present your idea initially to people really matters. So as an example, when I was pitching the X Prize back in 1996, before I even had the money, I had no teams, right? It was just an idea. I pitched it. I was on a stage we created under the arch in St. Louis where Lindbergh raised his money. And on stage with me, I got 20 astronauts. I had the head of NASA, the head of the FAA. I had the Lindbergh family. And when I announced this idea of a $10 million competition, you have to remember I had no money and no teams. It was still picked up around the world, and people said, wow, that's amazing. How can I be part of that?
Yeah.
Now, it took me a while to get to the point where I could have those astronauts and have those, but I waited to pitch it to the world until I had enough super credibility that when they heard it, they backed it.
So basically what you did is you borrowed the credibility,
yes,
but you had to present an idea that clearly resonated with the already converted.
Yes,
who
and I
also had credibility of their own, and ultimately they're willing to lend it to you. Does that seem about right?
Absolutely correct. And there were people who said no and said that's a crazy idea, it'll never happen. The traditional aerospace companies, whatever it might be, I didn't invite them to my stage to announce it. But the ones who I filtered through, who got it, and said, yeah, it's a cool idea, and I've seen you've done these other things before, and so I'll be part of that. And it was literally the credibility of who was on stage with me that was massive enough, super credible enough, that allowed it to launch into the universe and eventually get funded attract 26 teams from around the world to spend $100 million and actually implemented the vision. Right? It was like throwing yourself a touchdown pass, and so that's my piece of advice.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Very nice.